all agreeing to listen to me today about me discussing some of my findings, which I've come across while exploring and investigating, primarily about student inductions while I've been doing my MA in Creative Media at Bournemouth University. Just for the present set, you're aware there's a camera in the background, but you won't have any of your faces recorded, and everything you say is confidential, and it's only my university lecturers who will be viewing this. So I'm going to crack on. There's three aspects to this which I'm going to be sharing with you today. Is that about making student learner inductions more accessible, how it can be applied and linked with late enrollers, and in terms of producing a more practical induction across the media and photography department, and potentially even streamlining across the whole college. So, one thing here at our college is something which some of you might be aware of, is that we get quite a lot of different handbooks to hand out to students at the start of the year, ranging from pre-enrollment material to our enrollment material, to our course handbooks, to safeguarding handbooks, ICT handbooks, prevent handbooks, and how to reference. So a right variety of documents. Now, realistically, students will accept these handbooks and it will be in the bottom of their bags for forever. And quite a lot of the time they won't want to re-access it. It stays there, they chuck it in the bin, whatnot. Students are more likely going to access material if it's online, and quite frequently more so if it's in a video form, because they feel like they're actually accessing something interesting, so to speak. So this year, when I was running induction, I asked some of the students on the level 3 media course, 36 of them, 2 weeks after they started, whether or not they'd read any books, any of the course handbooks which were given out to them. As you can see on the slides, that only 7 indicated that they had, and what was quite interesting is one of them gave that reason because they had an hour-and-a-half train journey or bus journey to get to college, and they'd run out of doing whatever it was they were doing. The same number, so out of 36, 23 of them at some point in the first 2 weeks of the course had access Moodle to access the relevant material, such as their online timetables, to find out which teacher's email address they needed to access, and how to access, well, parts of Moodle itself and ProMonitor. But in the discussion following the survey, a lot of them just said that they just couldn't be bothered to access, that they had no motivation in carrying around items which would require that. So this here, you've probably all seen this. This is the checklist students complete when they, within the first 6 weeks of the course. West Kent tells us that students have to click on whether or not we as teachers have covered all these aspects. Now, quite a lot of them can be doubled up, so you've got equality and diversity, safeguarding. You've got a whole section dedicated to just handbooks. And this is the whole point about trying to make it more practical, more appealing and engaging for the learner to find out the information without needing this handbook for them to read. So there's quite a lot of things going on. Some of them, there is no engaging way. It will always be dry, but it's the information we have to share. This on my screen here, this is an example of how induction was planned and ran this year. So it was laid out, a lot of it, there was a lot of talking in the first 2 hours of the course, which again, students were got to points where they were disengaged, despite the fact that there was a few icebreaker activities embedded into it. What I found out later weeks in tutorials is that the students hadn't retained that information being verbally spoken to, and that we had to revisit it. So this again goes with having videos accessible to students which could explain, outline key things such as the ALG, what does it actually stand, what would you do, work experience, how would you find it, and about the study programme in general, rather than the course information itself. So just to show you just how long, this is for a week as well, so it just shows you different activities to try and engage students, and how it linked with them getting to know the actual college itself. Now, this has been backed up, the research which has been put into these about student inductions has been backed up by past and current lecturers who have taught at the college in the past 4 to 5 years in the media and photography department, as well as not only current level 1 who are new to the college this year and current level 2nd years. They also had input as well, and as well as some past 2nd years who had just recently completed the course. There was a lot of focus groups and student surveys going on, staff emails were sent out to you lot, there was online staff surveys as well, going around what would you expect to see in the induction and how would you make it practical, and things like that. So from this, what I'm trying to get at with producing these sort of materials is that in terms of student inductions, it's not about the quantity of handbooks given out or the amount of information which is verbally addressed to students. It's about the effectiveness and being able to measure how this information is delivered and retained, and what works and can potentially be revisited time and time again throughout the year for addressing things. So this is to show the accessibility of key information. The reason for investigating inductions is primarily due to the first ever survey I did when looking into practical inductions, is that there were, out of the small department we had at the start of the year, there was a significant number where they had never had to plan or deliver an induction themselves before, and that then found that there was other staff having to aid and help arrange to deliver and plan essentially information which wasn't for their level which they teach at, but also others as well. So the whole idea of this having something which is streamlined is so that it's pre-prepared and only certain aspects of it will be made adaptable to you lot, so that you can input certain information about your course, whereas the other slides are key. Again, this is part of my Unit 3 work, where I had to create a plan for how I would deliver the induction material, and how to try and make it more engaging to deliver things like the prevent and radicalisation within this induction process. So we did a variety of activities, which because most of you deliver on practical courses, it engages them straight away, and it also introduced the new learners who had never touched the software programs before to have that first feel, and it first draws out what expectations, what sort of level of work we're hoping to create as well as provide time later on in the course to be able to focus on more advanced skills. So for instance, my justification for this was more advanced editing skills, which this year, due to the activities we've done in induction, we've been able to focus on doing more, applying and teaching more editing effects which students hadn't previously known, which again in itself has proved useful, because the first year level 3 students, it got back to the year 2 students, and they then requested as a class that they didn't know how to do this, this and this, and then that helped devise some lessons to help broaden their knowledge and skills of using software programs. So this is just an overview of it. And what next? Well, what I want to do today is find out how you feel about the idea of streamlining, about creating a document which can be used as either just something which you as a department would use, or B, as something which could be put forward to the college on a whole and be used as something which is editable and adaptable to meet all needs for all courses. And there's several, I've got 3 computer rooms open up in a minute where you can look at some suggested PowerPoint deliveries, and as well as a mock-up website which I've put together, which will incorporate some of these aspects on providing content information and also videos to help limit us delivering some of the topics, because sometimes it can be hard for us to explain perhaps in certain ways to do with radicalisation. Sometimes we provide only a brief overview of, say, like in the induction week, British values, radicalisation, prevent, and then later on in our tutorials, but it will provide the learner with some knowledge that at some point they will have to tackle these things. So the documents themselves are available, and it's all stuff which has been taken out of the induction booklets which the college have been providing since about 2 years ago when Holloway took over. The documents themselves come in 3 packages. One package is over 50 pages, which consists of primarily just induction activities, getting to know you activities, whereas the other documents provide information, suggested layouts and suggested timings for how long you should spend focusing on a particular area, which don't necessarily always collate with the number of hours we're told to spend on induction, as well as our tutorials in order to complete it within the 6 weeks. It ranges, you must complete a certain aspect by 2 days, a certain aspect by 4 days, and a certain aspect within 6 weeks. So it's very inconsistent in terms of how and when you deliver it, when they call it induction, when induction to us is normally a week, potentially even 3 days in some cases, and whereas they're calling inductions up to 6 weeks. So this here relates to a mock-up website which I'm about to show you. This here is a suggested layout, obviously adaptable per subject area and level, but to have in place pre-enrollment key information ready to prepare. So what I meant by English, Maths, ALG is to have a sheet of paper explaining for parents that they will be attending a certain number of hours, and that they've got to make these arrangements ASAP for their child to have support in or out of class. They have the consent forms. Some of these things are things which we do automatically, and again, it's things which we've prepared. But most of this research is based on what's happened the past current induction years, where perhaps some people haven't had the materials created in advance, and there's been a lot of reliance on sharing materials and having to quickly adapt it before we run downstairs to enrol students. So that's the sort of preparing, and then doing videos which meet course teams. We can all quickly jump in front of the camera, say hello, tell students what we are, because we are a department, and as a department we're also covering each other's lessons a lot, so it's good to have not just your main teachers but also everybody, and this could just be, you know, pictures popping up on the screen, or yourselves in the video going into an icebreaker, which is the obvious thing. Then this is the section where you would, just realised that it's not doing it on there. This is the section where you'd have probably your most verbal talk, going back into another video about another aspect of the study programme itself. So not, though it says course information, I mean, you would have a video detailing what work experience is, how many hours you've got to complete. You'd have information on your ALG, information on your maths and English. So it's being delivered to all, and it's a video which everyone within the department would be able to access, have it on Moodle, and you can just click play. So it's not that constant talking, yet it's the information the students need to hear. And it will be readily available for students to re-access should they say, oh, I don't know that. You can pinpoint and be like, well, you attended induction, you ticked the checklist, and they can access it at home as well as their parents. Again, it all interlinks with practical activities included safeguarding, video on disciplinary procedures, have careers come in to talk, but again, you might have a careers video to help assist, and it goes on throughout. The whole idea about this is to make it easy accessible and be readily information for it. And the reason why I've covered 1 to 3 minutes is because it would be good because engagement, you know, you're probably bored listening to me right now. So we've got that aspect. And that's that. So just to show you how that video part links in, this is just a mock-up I've made using Wix here, so I've got the nice logo going on. This could be something, oh shoot. This is something which could be linked to either the Moodle site, so you could get the Moodle people to build a specific section, so one of their boxes where you normally get students to click on the different courses, and they could access it, or it could be a separate website, which again the access would be via Moodle, so that there's reason for accessing it. But just to give you an idea of how it would work, so you've got your full page, you've got your little intro, you'd have the college address down there, some numbers, but if you click on college info, you'd have an overview of the page. So in your course handbooks, you tend to have the pictures of your group principal, Paul Hannon, your head of faculty, because there's a letter from them, and then normally you might have pictures of yourselves next to your course team, whoever that is at the current year. However, again, that could change quite frequently. So having a website like this, for instance, I've got Paul Hannon, I've got Mark Thompson-Taylor, and I've got Beth Cleaves. Okay, and then we go down and we've got the head of faculties. Okay, this is something so that students can then access them, see them, know what they look like around college, and when you're talking about them saying, oh, Claire's coming along to our lesson to deliver a pre-pitch, they might have some familiarity if they've never come into contact before. The other section, primarily to do with videos, is this one. So here you've got your key page for student support. There's a short video which gives you a brief overview about what student support can offer, what services they provide. Moving down, we've got another short video on safeguarding, and again another one about our student handbooks which provides an overview. Now it then interlinks with having web links which can then direct you to where certain aspects and materials are already preloaded on the Moodle site, some which a lot of students find difficult, which they can access, but they also find it really difficult to find because unless you specifically tell them where to go, they're not necessarily going to do it. So this could be good, really good way of engaging students to access the material tutorials. And it's taking them straight to where all the student handbooks are, about the college. They've got their own Meet the Team, and you've got all the supports in place, which covers a huge majority of things. The same could be applied with the LRC stuff. You could have the links there. So for instance, I put a Pro Monitor there. You could have pages with videos, perhaps with students explaining to other students how they access their grades, because as you probably are all aware, the way we access them are completely different to students. So when we talk about how to access it, they look at us crazy. So this will allow them an easier way of getting things and potentially an easier way of understanding. And it ranges on to things like how to set a smart target, learn a voice, you know, how to access the library catalogue. These are all things which are already there, but by having short videos explaining them, it takes the pressure off us in terms of prepping for induction, apart from in the first instance, but also in terms of being able to give more time to perhaps a class discussion, or to be able to then incorporate what they've just watched into some sort of activity to help them show their understanding within the class. Anyway, this is the website. In the booth, what I would really appreciate is if you would take a look at a couple of the PowerPoints which have been created, and then when you come out we have a quick discussion about them, and then that would be it for today, and thank you for your time.